Oh, I'm actually really nervous. Hold on. Hey everyone, my name is Valentina, and I am going insane. I can't keep talking to myself about Phantom. So I've decided to publicly showcase my descent into madness online. I've been a huge Phantom fan for years. I've read the book about 6 or 7 times, I think. I've watched the musical, I've watched the movies, and I still consider the Leroux novel one of my favorites of the bunch of things Phantom related. I wouldn't consider myself a Phantom expert in no way, shape, or form, but I think I know a fair amount of the story for me to actually talk about it. There's so many things that I want to talk about, but I think I'm going to start with something fairly simple and approachable, and that is the differences, or the main differences, between the stage musical by Andrew Lloyd Webber and the Leroux novel. There are a lot of differences, and I mean, yeah, with the very fact of an adaptation, there's gonna be a difference. So I'm not gonna get into every single little detail that he missed in the making of this thing. So this might be a kind of biased list because these are things off the top of my head that that I think are worth noting when you're watching the musical and you're comparing it to the book. Yeah, let's get into it. I think I'm going to start with the story aspect. What actually changes in the story? Well, for one, Eric's backstory is just all over the place. It's so funny though. In a lot of adaptations, Eric is like this sewer man that has never seen the light of day, and that's actually hilarious because it makes no sense. Like where does he go buy his stuff? Okay, I don't know. Anyway, in the Leroux novel, Eric has this huge backstory that we are gonna get into. Okay, I want to talk about that. I have things to say, and I have things to teach to you guys. So I am gonna talk about that at some point. But I just want to say that in the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, he's just there. Madame Giry says that he was in this kind of circus freak show and she rescued him, which, huh? Anyway, so he's just been living there, I guess, this whole time. This brings me into Madame Giry as a helper character. In the book, Madame Giry doesn't really have that much weight on the story. She's a side character, she's pretty funny, I guess, but her story doesn't really click with Eric's at any point. Um, so that's interesting, I guess. Then, as for the investigation aspect of the novel, in the book, there's a very present journalistic aspect that the musical doesn't really touch on. In the book, you have Leroux as a self-insert narrator. Love that. And Leroux is not a character in the in the musical. I see why though. Like, I feel like it's information that we don't really need, I guess. But it's so important in the book though. The torture chamber, you guys. Oh my god, the torture chamber is so insane. It's a key element in this story. And it's just not there. There's another key character that is not there. We'll get there. This is kind of a weird one, but for some reason in the musical, the timeline for historic events in French history doesn't really make sense. Jessica Mason made a fun video talking about this on TikTok. Doesn't really add up some of the things that happen in the musical. And that's a huge difference because the book is so detailed in that aspect. Leroux comes at you with the receipts. is like, yes, because in 1817, the opera house is being built, or something like that. I don't know, I just made up that piece of information, but I'm sure that Leroux did actually investigate. This actually brings me to a side thing, a little tangent here. The costumes make no sense for the time period. We are in late Victorian, early Edwardian times, okay? Where are the trails? Where are the ruffles? Anyway, we can kind of move on to the next aspect of big differences, which are the characters. I don't want to say much more about the story because the story stays pretty consistent. You have this girl, and you have the ghost, and you have the boyfriend. It's pretty basic, and it's there, so I'm not going to count it as a difference, but I will talk about the characters. The musical does maintain some of the original, well, most of the original characters from the novel. You have Christine and Raoul and Eric, and the opera directors, and La Carlota and Madame Giry and Meg Giry and stuff like that. But there's huge differences in their roles as characters in the story. They give a lot of narrative weight to the Madame Giry character, and that is because she is in replacement of the best character in Phantom. No, it's kidding. He might not be the best, or is he? Or is he though? Which is the Persian. That, I think, in my eyes, is the biggest difference with the book. Persian erasure. Okay, where is he? Where is he, Andrew?
Give it to me now!
For real, where is he? Anyway, if you don't know who the Persian is, I don't know what to say. We'll talk about him, for sure. The thing about the musical is that the Persian's role is given to Madame Giry. And she's kind of like a helper character to Raoul, who is this dashing knight in shining armor. And he swoops in with a sword and he fights Eric. And he's a big, strong man, a manly man. And he's so romantic, and he's so muscular, and he's so manly. That is so not book Raoul. That's crazy. That's insane. Like, you read book Raoul and you're like, oh my god, this is like the scrawniest, most annoying little guy ever. Oh my god. He's so different. Book Raoul is so not that. A big change in Eric's personality. I think it's the musical's fault that a lot of people think that Eric is this kind of like sexy masked man that lives in the sewer. He's like not that, you guys. He's not that at all. He's very touchy with Christine. He keeps touching her hair and her body, and he swoops in Piangi's place to like really seduce Christine in one of the best musical numbers ever that changed the trajectory of my life and of your life if you're watching this video, The Point of No Return. But yeah, you have like this big difference in Eric's personality. He is a tortured singer. He's still in that same role, but like I feel like book Eric would just not like book musical Eric. I feel like book Eric would call him a slave of fashion. Have you seen him? He looks amazing. Oh, and if we're talking a bit about the physical aspect of the characters, Christine's not blonde. She has curly hair, and she's a brunette. And Eric's deformity, I think that might be one of the biggest differences too. Eric's deformity, like, Eric's look covers his entire body, not just this small piece of his head that makes you go like, oh, it wasn't that bad, you know? I feel like that was not what Leroux intended when he talked about Eric's face. I think it's so funny that when he takes off his mask in the 2004 movie, when Gerard Butler takes off his mask, and you're like, ah. You also have interesting things added in, like the fact that Christine's a dancer, and then she becomes a singer. No Madame Valerius, which is insane too. Madame Valerius is Christine's mom. She's so alone in the musical. She literally only has Raoul. I mean, does Madame Valerius actually do something good in the book? Not really. We'll talk about that woman too. Anyway, and this is one of the weirdest things that I think the musical does, and it's the fact that the Angel of Music and Christine's dad are interchangeable concepts here. It's so weird. Remember Wandering Child when... That's so funny. Wait, hold on. In Angel of Music, she's like, her father promised her that he would bring her the Angel of Music. Right? So you're like, okay, her father promised her that he would send her the Angel of Music. Two separate beings, right? But when you're actually watching Wandering Child, and he's like, wandering child, so lost, so helpless. And he's like, have you forgotten your angel will speak? Okay, so he's like, I'm your angel of music. But then Raoul, big, strong, dashing man, swoops in and he's like, whatever you may believe, this man, this thing is not your father. Why does he feel the need to say that it's not her father when the thing actually said that it was the angel? It's weird. It's like, it's the angel, it's her dad, and that is her angel. But it's not. It's not. And I for one think it's kind of weird. There's a clear difference in the book. It's not the same. Of course, it's linked to her father's memory. The angel is linked to her father's memory because her father was supposed to send him to her. But I think that was weird in the musical. There's also like a really big weight on La Carlota. She's an important character. She's a very... she's supposed to be the contrary to Christine. She's this established singer, ostentatious, she's very talented, but she has no passion, according to Eric. She really wants to be in the spotlight, but her struggles and her relationship with the opera house and with Christine is kind of like tossed a little bit to the side, and Leroux tells you about it, but it's not very explored as it is in the musical. There's also no Philippe. Where is he? Oh my god. Philippe, Raoul's brother, is not in the musical. And man, I think he would have been great in it. I want to hear him sing. And then you have the things like the missing characters, missing scenes. In the Leroux book, there's a lot of throwaway scenes that kind of tell you a bit of the lore of the Phantom of the Opera before you actually know what's happening. And so a lot of characters are mentioned, a lot of characters are thanked at the beginning and at the ending of the book. These are characters that don't really mean much story-wise. So yeah. Now, do any of these differences make the musical any less of a valid adaptation? No! There's a reason why The Phantom of the Opera is one of the most revered, recognized, and successful popular musicals of all time. Andrew Lloyd Webber made such a wonderful job at really capturing the vibes with the music. Because All I Ask of You, oh my god, that's literally their song. Say You'll Share With Me. One Love, One Lifetime. That's incredible. That's amazing. The Reprise, You Will Curse the Day You Did Not Do All That the Phantom Asked of You. I mean, let me ask the audience. I love how Andrew Lloyd Webber managed to express the grandness of it all, right? The costuming and the lights and the spectacle of the opera and the love story and the heartbreak. It's such an experience. If you haven't watched the musical, that's interesting. Welcome to Earth. You should definitely check it out. It's amazing. If you haven't read the book in a while, or if you've never read the book, you might not remember some of the characters I've mentioned or some of the elements that I mentioned. You might be surprised about certain characters' original roles, but don't worry, I am dying to talk about everything Phantom related. I want to talk about the characters and the chapters and every single line in that book, okay? And I will. Don't test me, I will. I hope you learned something or remembered something or just watched this. I don't know. And I hope you revisit Phantom if you haven't read it in a while. And I know I will. I've read it like 7 times. I love it. It keeps getting better every single time I open that book. So yeah, it's always great to go back and watch and read the things you love. And I think I'm done here. Hope you enjoyed this. I know I did. Anyway, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh.